is he allowed to live, or is everything okay in that place? I'm sure they didn't do all those things, and that's why it took them the next day before they knew that somebody in that room had been killed, or had died rather, as it were.
It's
So
really,
we
it's a
need to
really,
learn a
really
lot of lessons from this incident.
definitely. We need to learn a lesson from this incident. So let's move on in the conversation right
Yes.
here. I mean, it happened. Something happened. There were a lot of thing happening in same Abuja, where the FCT police neutralized notorious kidnapped kingpin, right? But
Yeah.
something strikes me, and that's the fact that one person, the commander of 6th Brigade, the Nigerian Army, came to say that the incidents of kidnapping and banditry have dropped significantly. Do you agree with that?
Well, I think what they meant by that should be the extent to which they are able to counter some kidnapping operations. They are able to make some arrests compared to what they were doing before. But again, if we look at the various reported cases, and that in kidnapping, unreported cases are more than reported cases, you will agree with me that the
Why is
country
that
is
so? Why do you think that is so? Why will someone be kidnapped and then it's not being reported? Could it be that there's
well, it's
something
not
behind the
being
scene?
reported. In most cases, most of the incidents that happens in remote areas are not reported, because you know that
Is it the absence
we
of
are
social media
no.
or
Let me come up.
okay?
You know that one of the let me be comprehensive here. Kidnapping itself is a tool of terrorism and banditry, and is their source of income. And one of their modus operandi is to create fear in the life of the citizenry. And this has been successfully created in the country, especially when some victims that have even paid their ransoms have been killed. In some reported cases across the country. So many people are now afraid to report, so that their victims are not killed, especially in the process of even after paying ransom. These are some of the reasons. And of course, our people still have this fear that identities and information about them can be leaked, and they too becoming victims. So there are so many reasons why some people really don't report. But again, we have always said that it's better to report than not to report, because even when security forces cannot do anything immediately because of the life of the victim, we have seen cases after 2-3 months, perpetrators are arrested and brought to justice, even when our judicial system have not been so fast in dealing with the situation. We still have every cause to report, because if you don't, at the end of the day, the person will eventually go scot-free. So let's come to the main, to say that kidnapping has gone down. A lot of people are still being apprehended on the highway. A lot of people some are still apprehended in their abodes, especially people that stay in most outskirts. If you look at some reported cases in recent times in Abuja, they are mostly people that live in the outskirts of Abuja and the suburb satellite towns and so on. So also some communities. So we look at one state in the southwest of recent, where about nine I think surveyors that went, although they have been released,
in the
that
state.
went on duty were kidnapped. All these are still happening. So to say that they have gone down, yes, to the extent of their own operation, but generally, I think Nigerians will disagree with that statement for now.
All right, thank you very much. Generally, Nigerians will definitely disagree with such a statement. Nigerians say yes, so let's hear from you on this conversation. Talking security, the resurrection of insecurity in Nigeria. And that's the voice of the Assistant Director of Internal Security, SSS, retired. Callers on the 0705 890 4927. 0705 890 4927. Or we're going to call the other lines 0805 092 0927. 0805 092 0927. Don't forget also you can message us on WhatsApp 0705 690 0927. 0705 690 0927. I mean, Mr. Adams, as it is right now, the Senate are requesting that a military base should be in Benue State. Is it not rather coming too late that the Senate are requesting for this? Could it have been done, earlier enough? Because now a lot of things have gone wrong. Benue State, who used to be the food basket of the nation, so many food insecurity, a lot happening right there in Benue State, and now the military are calling for. The Senate are calling for a military base right there in Benue State. Do you think it would have been done earlier than now? And even if it's not even, it's just a proposal, it's not even still being passed also.
Thank you very much. I think there's this adage that it is better late than never. I think that is what we are experiencing in Benue. Honestly, the situation in Benue is pathetic. And
I don't know if by course of operations, when you were still in service, you visited Benue. It's gone from bad to worse.
Yes, I say it's pathetic because there's hardly any week you don't hear a number of 10, 5, 15 people killed. And in the case of Benue, the perpetrators of this evil are herdsmen, and who are bent on taking the alluvial soil area of that part of the country for the purposes of their herds. Certainly, there can be no truth more than that. And then that we allow them to continue to perpetrate this evil for this long period of time is something that many Nigerians can't but understand. But like I said, we have various security heads now that are bent on doing the right thing, and I think that is what we are witnessing now. And the earlier we nip that situation in the bud, the better for the country. So that
and don't forget, this was one of the reasons.
Don't accuse government unnecessarily of being part of this. Part of this plan to annihilate the origins, the aborigines of those communities. And so bringing in the military bases in the various
would that even bring solution? Would that serve as the solution of insecurity in Benue State? Because we have in Kaduna, and we still see incidents, especially also in Kaduna where we have an Air Force base. I think we have a Army base also. But still yet, we do hear of insecurity. We know.
You see, the problem really is not about the basis that you have. It is about your capacity to deploy the men. Vis-a-vis the number of terrorists and bandits that are operating in those areas, do you have the commensurate personnel in terms of the various security services to confront them at a time? You are talking. If you take Kaduna that you are saying, you can see how simultaneous at one time these terrorists and bandits operate from virtually
from southern Kaduna. Thank God for the new administration
and so on. Even Zamfara and Kebbi that they are moving into now. So. And we have always said from the past that we still have our own inadequacies in terms of personnel, in terms of equipment, in terms of technology, and all the like. You remember the other time? I think the military did say they were going to, protect the farmers. And if we are going to protect the farmers, do we have the number of men that will be, especially these farmers are subsistence farmers, they are not that kind of large-scale farming settlements that you can deploy men to watch over them. So we need to
So
look at
basically, it's not just about having a military base.
Yeah, but if you have a base, you can have where you can have your reservoir of men that you can deploy from. Yeah, that will be an added advantage. It's not as if there are no some military bases in those places, but I think what they want to do now is to spread them to the areas that there are crises, establishing bases like forward base men to be stationed in those trouble areas. At least that will serve as deterrent to some of these terrorists that are coming on a daily basis. But like I said, we need to increase our deployment of acquisition and deployment of technology, because there's no doubt that these terrorists live in the forest. And if we can have technology that can monitor them in the forest for us, we can have a base to be proactive in our striking operation, in both our covert and overt operations against them. We need to intensify them. We have said this several times. And we have also said that there are so many ungoverned places in our country, and we needed to expand, our security personnel, especially the establishment of state police. We need them. We need them. Giving responsibility to state governments. I mean,
are you in support of state police?
Certainly.
And you don't see
there have been these the only point against state police is state governors using them against the opposition and now the
manipulating.
But how long are we going to allow them? There are various activities to hold us back in what it is done across the world. Rather, we should establish it and see how we can checkmate them. People should rise to checkmate them when they start using them against their opponents unnecessarily.
Who wants to checkmate them?
We cannot continue like this.
I mean,
we cannot because the benefits outweigh the demerits, which is only because some individuals will be using them against their opponents.
Mr. Adams, I mean, I have to come in here. I mean, you said checkmating them in a country where it seems to be like we're heading towards a one-party state, where the opposition are not, strong enough to criticize and call on the attention of the government. Where it seems to be they are alleged that cross-carpeting is being monitored right now.
This idea, I am not a politician. I'm a security
yes. I'm bringing it up.
Let me say this. The idea that we are going to one-party state, I don't even agree with it.
No, I'm building up to
because even the opposition themselves, they have not been in true sense of it. They have not been opposition. And that's why every little thing they decamp, every little thing Nigerians begun to.
That's why you're questioning
Let's take a typical example. What is happening in the father of democracy in the U.S. How many of their opposition parties have decamped so far since the present administration came into power? They still stay where they are, and they are still expressing their opinion. But here we are, every little thing, because we really don't think about what we can offer to the citizens, but we think of what we can benefit from our political patronage. That is the only
I think
reason
that's the
why.
difference
If not,
between our
none,
whole democracy.
even them that they are in the position that you are talking about, they will, if they are in government, they will even do worse things. So until we all agree to be matured politically, we will be experiencing the kind of thing that we are experiencing. So it's not something that we can just pin it on a particular administration that is in power. No.
Okay, thank you for that. But I was
Yes.
I was bringing up to the state police you mentioned. I mean that in a society where these people are not standing up to question the government, in a society where it seems to be like their monetary values or their stomach infrastructure to crush carpeting, politically. So how then do you want to ascertain the sincerity of state police? I mean, that's why it seems to be like people are scared to affirm to this state police, and even the IG himself has said that. I mean, there will be a form of political fingering in that state police. So I mean, but
yes. Yes, I agree that the IG has his reservation about them. He expressed them about that. But like I said before, is this how long are we shall we continue to remain at where we have been over the years? Can't we do something? I mean, differently for the purpose of our country and for the purpose of securing our country. Look at it. Sometimes back, we talked about community policing, which necessitated some states, especially the Southwest, to establish Amotekun Corps. But you know that Amotekun has its limitation in terms of arms bearing, the capacity of arms they can bear, the kind of technology they can acquire, and so on and so forth. And at least to some extent, that organization has helped the Southwest to a very large extent in collaborating with security agents to curb insecurity in that region. Yeah. And we can also see another organization, I think somewhere in Anambra, in the southeast, I mean, trying to do some good works. But if we have a legalized institution like the state police, who will become a constitutional agency established by law, I want to believe that we will do better. And some courageous Nigerians who can challenge the excesses of some state government administrators will certainly be able to put them on check to enable us to do the right thing. That is what I'm saying. If you don't try a thing, you will not grow. For fear of one thing, you remain where you are. It does not bring progress to anywhere in the world. And that is what I want us to understand.
Okay, thank you very much. Well, sometimes they say a trial may convince you, but don't forget that's how the trial of subsidies came. And we are where we are, and now that's talking about if we don't try a thing. Well, okay, I was still talking insecurity right here on Spotlight on Super 92.7 FM. Yes, don't forget Lagos. You can be part of this conversation. Security, they say, is our business. Security, they say, is for all. Yes, you can call us on the 0705 890 4927. 0705 890 4927 or 0805 092 0927. 0805 092 0927. Let's hear your comments or even send us message on WhatsApp on the 0705 690 0927. 0705 690 0927. But I mean, Mr. Adams, now let's talk about intelligence gathering. Sometimes you hear the police or even the army will tell you, see something, say something. But I can tell you, for free in Nigeria, that I mean, if you see something, and then you say something. Sometimes you might even be you might end up to be the victim when you say something. I'm not trying to say, well, Nigerians should not see something and say something, but we're in a country where it seems to be like if you see something, if you say something, then probably you're in soup. How do you? I'm as a security, as a former, as a retired security agent. How do you tackle such a menace?
Oh, thank you very much. I think for quite some time, the various security agencies have displayed some level of integrity that will make Nigerians to believe in them. That when you say something,
sorry to comment. Do you remember the issue of a whistleblowing?
Yeah.
You know how it went.
Yes.
Just to remind you also. Go ahead.
Let me address the issue of whistleblowing. I think what made it not very effective was because it was monetized and commercialized openly. And so, because of this, very many people now, because of the monetary gain, some of them cook stories, and many of them turn out to be false at the end of the day. So it discredited, the whole thing. But that is not the way that security agencies go about acquiring intelligence from their informants and other sources of information. And even the way of rewarding them is not something that they are openly, disclosed. I happen to be, that is my own primary area of operation. You have so many ways of rewarding your informants, not necessarily exposing them to the general public to know what you are doing for them, which gives them confidence about the intelligence they are bringing for you. I think what affects the information that comes from the public mostly is that people believe that when they bring you information, that, of course, the intelligence is the information that is processed and becomes actionable. That's simple definition. So when they bring you this information, they expect you to act upon it now and now. And that is a great mistake, because the person you are bringing information to has other sources of getting more information other than the one you brought. And so by the time he processes it, he might discover that what you have brought is not something that he can act upon at that time. That does not mean that the information you brought is not useful. He can keep your information, and maybe at another time when he gets something similar that can give credence to what you brought, at the time they will even use your information, you will not even know again. But our people, the moment they say, okay, this thing is happening, there's this thing here, we want you to do this now, and you don't do it, they get discouraged. I want to tell Nigerians that this is not how information is used by the intelligence organization. Let me give a typical example. The present Director General of the Department of State Services that came on board told Nigerians that he was going to be, he was going back to the real practice of intelligence. In other words, he will be covered in most of his intelligence acquisition and even security operations. Is not like the type before that every personnel is known here and there, and it's giving. That standard is already yielding positive results. If you see some of the operations that many of our security agencies are carrying out these days, they will tell you that is as a result of actionable intelligence from sister agencies. They didn't mention the organization. They didn't say the SSS. But we know those that are behind it. That is what it should be. So Nigerians should not expect immediate action for information they bring, because there are barrage of information coming to the person you are sending this information to, and they need to process them for them to take action. So if what you have brought, you don't seem to be, something is happening now, should not distract you from further intelligence or information you are bringing to security agencies. That is what I want to say.
Well, thank you very much for your thoughts. Okay, now let's go to the hotline. The messages coming in on WhatsApp. Don't forget, you can send your message via WhatsApp at 0705 690 0927. That's for WhatsApp, 0705 690 0927. Good morning, crew. Olamilekon from Lagos. Abacha said in his time, if terrorism lasts 24 hours, the government knows about it. You can see your army giving schoolboy excuses. Imagine 40 farmers killed in Borno. Do you know what that can be to a nation? What that can do to a nation? While they are on southeast collecting money, there are killings in Benue, Ondo, Enugu, Ebonyi. That means that the Nigeria Republic government can tell you the gospel truth concerning your government. That means your government is romancing with the terrorists and bandits, saying they have repented. Our military has been compromised as stunned politicians doing eye service and hypocrisy. What has been done concerning 400 names of those sponsoring terrorism in Nigeria? That's a big question to Mr. Adams. You can see that no political will because of elections of 2027. It's a shame. The worst of us is ruling the best of us. Truly, there was a nation. And that's Olamilekon from Lagos. Okay, Henry from Ojo. Honestly, you see the case of military base in Benue State. It is necessary. The insecurity in Benue State is affecting the economic development of the state. We all know it's an agricultural state. So far, the progress of farming has been destroyed by insecurity. I mean, we talked about that Benue State, who is the food basket of the nation. I'm not sure there's a food now, there's a basket anymore in that state. I mean, because I've talked to many Nigerians who have said a lot of people has fled the state. Farmers, has fled the state just for safety, for their life. Because when there is life, there is hope. The farms are now deserted because of insecurity. Well, Mr. Adams, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
You heard that comment from one of people there, Olamilekon from Lagos, who's talked about if terrorism lasts 24 hours, that means the government is about it. That's a statement from Abacha, if you can remember. Also, he talked about, the names of those who are sponsoring terrorism in Nigeria. And till date, it seems to be nothing done about it. When are we going to differentiate, or are we going to separate politics from insecurity?
Thank you very much. You see, if we want to talk about the insecurity, especially terrorism in our country, we all know when it started, and we know how it was growing up. I don't want to be repetitive, but it got to a level that okay, let me even restrict it. When it started, we were caught pants down. We were caught pants down because we didn't have, even our security forces didn't have the training to deal with it immediately. We didn't have the equipment to deal with it. We did not have capacity to deal with them immediately.
Are you talking about the level of insecurity during the Jonathan era?
Huh?
Are you talking about the level of insecurity during the Jonathan era?
Of course. So at that time, we were running helter-skelter. Even the international organizations that were supposed to come to our aid in terms of weapons and technology, they were given conditions that were very difficult for us to meet. For instance, in the area of air power, they were giving us conditions that civilians must not be made casualties and all the like. And how could you deal with such people without having a collateral damage? So it was something that we couldn't manage at that stage, and the guys were having a field day because of the level of poverty and radicalization of their own kind of foot soldiers. It was easier for them to expand with ease. Remember that at that time we had not had much of the situation that we have today in Sokoto. I mean in Taraba axis, and so. When those people seem to be successful in that area, the Taraba axis again, Zamfara axis started their own, and they started expanding like wildfire. So that government knew about it, and they were using it for whatever reason is what I find it difficult. Don't also forget that there are international politics in this thing. We have all heard about how other nations' involvement, only in Nigeria, but across Africa and some other nations that have this kind of challenges that we have.
So we can't separate politics from security?
If you don't have what it takes to stop them, certainly it is believed that you are part of them. There is no doubt about that. And at the time we began to acquire these things, these organizations have grown. You were here when the Lakurawas came again, and they have become another threat to us. Recently, they were pushed from Zamfara area. They are trying to move towards Kebbi and all the like. So it is not because government on its own don't want peace in its country, but because the thing have outgrown them, and copying them has become something difficult. You can see now that even they are expanding. I mean, some of them try to expand into the southwest. Are you saying that the governments of the southwest are in support of them coming into their area? Certainly not.
They've been having meetings anyway.
Our capacity to deal with them is low, and that is what we have been saying, that we must build them very quickly. I did say one time that we should declare state of emergency, that we are at war. Because what is happening to us is that our country is at war with these invaders, and we must take measures that are taken when the nation is at war by declaring state of emergency, so that we can direct resources at them and deal with the situation.
All right, let's go to other matters. Quickly because of our time. The Senate has urged the Benue State government to enforce the open grazing prohibition and ranches establishment law. That's to restore peace in the state, in Benue State. What do you think about the law? Is that also a good solution? I talked about having a military base. Now, the Senate has also urged for the Benue State government to enforce the open grazing prohibition and ranches establishment law. Is this the best solution to restore peace in the state?
Well, that is a political decision. Again, I don't really want to be part of it, but let us ask this question. In the states that have open grazing policy, are there enough peace in those states? That is the question we should ask ourselves. Because you and I have seen videos of herdsmen and they were pulling out your cassava and pulling out your yam and feeding them to their cattle. Is that because there is no open grazing? Because even in those areas where you see those obnoxious activities of these herdsmen, there are open grazing policies in those areas. But in their wisdom, if they think that is what will bring peace to that area, let us see how it works. I think that's the only thing I want to say.
Okay,
because we have a great time. You see the farm where they were pulling out the man's cassava and were feeding, and they were videoing themselves. They are the ones that video themselves, to see that what can you do? We must feed our cattle with your farm. and all the like. So,
But I mean, Mr. Adams, talking about these
yeah,
videos of this insecurity, is it
yes.
not? I mean, with these videos, are these people can they be apprehended?
I mean, that is what I talk about technology now. With technology, you should be able to identify where that place is taking place, and you should be able to pursue them. But again, I want to believe that it's not every operation of security agencies that are made public. Possibly they have dealt with the situation, but they may not want us to know what it is that they have done for other reasons, that are not supposed to be made public. But I want to say that if we don't deal with the situation, the kind of food scarcity that we are facing in this country in the future will be a child's play.
Still,
And
still,
the earlier
still,
we
still
deal
talking
with the
about food
situation. And I
scarcity.
think of recent, if the DGSS did say that communities should organize themselves in supporting security organizations to provide security for their community, for their localities. And I think the earlier we do this, the better for us.
It is with the issue. I mean, with the rising insecurity in Benue State, especially right now. I mean, food insecurity, livelihoods. I mean, being affected. A lot of people have deserted their homes. Thousands have deserted their home. Is it not enough to declare a state of emergency in the state?
Yes, yeah, I think because everything in this country is politicized, people are just being careful. If not, there is every reason, certainly, to declare state of emergency to deal with the situation around that place. But again, if you do that, there will be many interpretations considering the present government, where the leadership is from, and that kind of thing. And people are already projecting 2027 and all the like. Everything will become into play. I think that may be some of the reasons they are being careful. But the important thing is that some of these people, look at the same perpetrators these people are perpetrating in Benue. They perpetrate it in part of Niger. Nasarawa State. Nasarawa State has open grazing, yet they go to people's farm and destroy them with impunity, and they think they can get away with it. So the earlier we address it, the better.
And that's why we're here. I mean, trying to address all of these issues and trying to talk about it, to call the attention of the government to hold this rising insecurity in our dear country. Lagos Spotlight is the show right here on Super 92.7 FM. And let's look at just yesterday. The Senate summoned security chiefs for solution to nationwide security. Barring any last-minute change of plans, the Senate will once again summon the chief security next week to Abuja to address the escalating insecurity in part of the country. Well, expected to be right there are the Red Chamber, is the Chief of Defense Staff, is the Chief of Army Staff, is the Chief of Naval Staff, the Chief of Air Staff, the Inspector General of Police, the Director General of DSS, and also Director General of National Intelligence Agency. I mean, all of those people are expected to be seated next week right there at the Red Chamber. I mean, I'll come to you now, Mr. Adams. Well, what immediate actions should this security chiefs take? If you are to be if you are to advise them right there, to advise the Senate and advise the security chiefs, what immediate actions to be taken? Because it seems to be like, the norms, when insecurity happens like this, the Senate will call on the security chiefs, and then sometimes they say security matters are not supposed to be said in public. But when they leave, it still seems like the same thing is happening all over and all over again. I mean, how do you address this?
Okay, thank you very much. I think the best thing for the various security chiefs that are going there should do is to articulate what are their limitations in terms of their resources, personnel, technology, funds, and all the like. And they should be able to present those things to the Senate. And the Senate themselves that call the security agencies should have by now identified the shortfalls in the operations of the various security agencies and calling their attention what they expect from them. I mean, the Senate should by now have that. And again, both of them should come to a meeting point. What do you expect from us? How do you expect the Senate to support you through government for you to perform well? But meanwhile, these are our own observations, the areas we think you are not doing well, and we want you to do well. And I think if they can arrive at a compromise,
and maybe be sincere to themselves too.
And be sincere to themselves, exactly, because be sincere to themselves. But I know some persons from the security, among the security agencies that will be very, very frank with the Senate. I wish the Senate themselves would be frank with the security agencies heads, to tell them what really they expect, and they should be able to do the needful, because if you look at some of these security agencies, for quite some time, they will publish recruitments, but recruitments are inconclusive. And that has decimated. You can imagine the number of people that have retired over the years, some people that have, during operations, that have lost their lives and that need to be filled up. Those are some of the things I expect them to discuss. And of course, Senate should inquire from them the funds allocated to you, how much have you used them, and then a shortfall. They should also be able to tell Senate, look, you have given us so much in terms of budget, but this is what is released to us. It's not what you budget for us that has been given to you. They should open up so that at the end of the day, we should be able to get to where we want to be.
All right. Thank you. We have to wrap up now on the show. Thank you very much, Assistant Director, Internal Security SSS, retired, Mr. Adams Habo. Thank you very much for your time this morning.
Thank you. It's my pleasure to be with Nigerians this morning.
All right, Lagos, this is where we call it a wrap on the show on Spotlight on Super 92.7 FM. Don't forget to join us again tomorrow. Spotlight comes to you 7:30, starting up from the pages and down to 9 a.m. My name is Michael Inyang. Have a beautiful day.
We don't just talk the talk, we walk the walk. Switch to the good side of life here on 92.7 Super FM.